Hey folks, welcome to chapter three of uh, uh, Chester's On Fire at Work book. The last one, chapter one, we talked about really how do we change the mindset from old school workforce to more innovative, collaborative teamwork workforce. And so today in chapter three, we're going to really talk about how we put our core values into action. And it's really going to focus on teamwork, innovation, and excellence. So this chapter is really about um, really driving an organizational culture. In alignment with leaders and employees. And I've kind of streamlined. I think I'm to a point to where I'm getting the videos down to about 15 minutes or so. And so I think we're on a good track here. So let's get started. So first of all, this is the framework. This is Chester's framework, right? He's got his pillars here for on fire employees. And this one right here really talks about alignment. So, um, how do we, pillar three, instill core values into our employees? And I think, again, I'll go back to always when it comes to HR, hiring the right people is always going to be the first step in instilling great core values into our employees. So hiring the right people. Okay. So this is the framework. So how do we look at this perfect alignment, right? So this is our alignment challenge, right? First, we have to have leadership vision, right? Leadership has to have a vision. These are our mission, vision, and values. These are our core values, right? These are the things that our leaders believe in. They're the strategic direction, the company purpose, the organizational goals. I often call it the deeper purpose of a company. If you look at Whole Foods, their deeper purpose is about it's about feeding people and planet. Patagonia's deeper purpose is really about, now it's the earth is our only customer. If you look at Nike, it's about creating innovation, and everyone is an athlete. Those are the deeper purposes. Apple's deeper purpose is about, breaking the mold, breaking outside the boxes, really thinking outside of the box. And so this is the vision. Employee reality. Does their does their experience on a daily basis, can they see that vision play out on a daily basis? So we've got the leadership vision, but is the employee reality really that vision? Is it, what's their daily work experience? What are their personal values and what are their individual motivations? Okay. So we've got the leadership vision, employee reality, and then the misalignment creates this gap, right? Which then creates disengagement and cultural breakdown. So we need to bridge that gap. And Chester would argue that while perfect alignment is impossible, it's the continuous pursuit of perfect alignment that makes it better, right? The pursuit of nobody's ever going to be perfect. The pursuit of perfection, though, uh, is perfection, if that makes sense. Um, so when words ring hollow, right? I love this, the marketing facade, right? So a company will have this marketing facade where it's beautifully designed core value statements, grace the lobby. You walk into an office space and you see this just innovative looking, they've got all their mission, vision, and values all over the walls. Their corporate website is just inundated with all the amazing things that they do. They create this impressive impression for customers, right? And for visitors. When in reality, from employee perspective, employees see through the hollow promises. They see basically this inauthentic um, space, this inauthentic uh, uh, corporate structure, and what Chester calls this corporate theater that really has nothing to do about really values. What really has nothing to do about social responsibility. It really doesn't have to do with workers' rights or innovation or teamwork. It's a facade to make them look better. It's what we call in sustainability greenwashing. A lot of people have said Starbucks is great at greenwashing. They say they're sustainable, but yet still their cups are not recyclable. They, use they waste their cups. They all that stuff, right? And so is it a facade or is it reality? Okay. I've got a really great example of this. So if you remember back in the 90s, Enron was an organization that they were into energy. They built engineering, bridges, infrastructure around the world, $60 billion, loss when they went, if you remember this, kind of walk you through it. Arthur Andersen was an organization in 2007 that was the auditor for Enron. Enron falsified their income statement or all their financial statements to make them look like they made more money than they actually did. What this resulted in was a failure of their pension plan. So their number one shareholder was their employees. So their employees lost their pension plans. They lost billions of dollars. People were laid off. Could just utter catastrophe. Everybody at Arthur Anderson shut their doors, exists no more. And so this was basically one of the worst business ethical catastrophes to ever happen, right? Enron lied about their financial statements. They cooked the books. Arthur Anderson colluded with them to do that, all to make more money. And in the end, they wound up losing $60 billion dollars in assets and legal fees from bankruptcy. 25,000 employees affected, lost their jobs, lost their pensions, and six, the most innovative company in America it was awarded the most innovative company in America at the time. Okay, so the facade that Enron had put on this whole time was absolutely a fake. And so if you look at kind of what their proclaimed values were at the time, okay? So again, Enron defrauded their shareholders, falsified their financial records. They're a multi-billion dollar organization, Fortune 500 company, and basically Arthur Anderson, the same thing. Uh, and so Arthur Anderson shut down. Enron, their employees lost their pension plans, got laid off, all that. Enron's proclaimed during that time, prior to this happening, they prided themselves on effective communication. They promised transparency, but what they really practiced was secretive accounting and hidden debt structures. They proclaimed respect. They said they respected people. They claimed that employees' value was all that mattered, when in fact they were fostering a cutthroat competition and fear-based management practice. They boasted how just their integrity levels were unchallengeable, right? They you just couldn't challenge their integrity. So they advertised ethical leadership while executives engaged in massive fraud and deception. And then they prided themselves on excellence, celebrated innovation while building success on unsustainable and illegal practices. So you had this facade of Enron, who they proclaimed to be, and then the reality was they were doing the direct opposite. Um, so there's steps in the process of aligning good culture and good core values. First of all, uh, he believes that this systematic approach to building an authentic core value alignment starts with values-based hiring. Hire people that have the same deeper purpose as your company does. Again, for a company like Whole Foods, it's about hiring people who believe in raw foods and in the environment and stakeholder theory. Continuous values training, ongoing development through real world scenarios and reflection. So continuously train people on these valuables, accountability systems, right? Discipline, misalignment, and reward authentic value demonstrations, right? If somebody's not aligning with your company culture, there needs to be disciplinary action. But if somebody is actually doing what they're supposed to do, reward them. Values-driven evaluation, performance reviews that measure values adherence alongside results. It's not just about your KPIs, it's about, do you represent our organization's culture? And then finally, leadership modeling. Executives demonstrate values through every decision and interaction they have. So step one, values-based hiring. Beyond skill assessment, we need to think beyond the traditional hiring, focus on technical competencies and experience, and look at people that match our culture. We can train, I always tell people, you can train anybody to do anything. Hire somebody for their deeper purpose and their alignment to your values, right? So how do we do this? We use behavioral-based interview questions. We use scenario-based assessments, and we values compatibility screening, right? We use all three of these techniques to make sure that the person we're hiring is, yes, a technical match, but also more importantly, they are a core value match. Their deeper purpose is aligned with our deeper purpose. Patagonia will not hire anybody unless they utilize Patagonia gear, unless they're outdoors people, and unless they care about the earth. Second, continuous values training. Utilize hypothetical scenarios. Do role playing, right? Have monthly departmental trainings on, hey, what if this happens? What if somebody asks you to do this? What if your manager says this? Right? We look at hypothetical scenarios, real world examples. Each week, you can look in the Wall Street Journal as a manager and go pick out stories of where ethical decisions were made that weren't followed, or companies lost their way, core values, like what's going on with that. I get Volkswagen, Wells Fargo, Nestle, all these three companies have had issues with their core values. And then reflective practice, regular discussions and feedback sessions that help employees internalize values and then apply them authentically. Okay. So these continuous training, this needs to happen on a minimum a monthly basis. Steps 3 and 4, accountability and evaluation. There need to be clear consequences when you break our core values, clear consequences. They must have courage to discipline employees who violate core values, no matter how successful they are. Meaningful recognition, reward people for demonstrating core values, celebrate them, right? If you see somebody do something well, say something to them, reward them for it, right? Somebody who makes an ethical decision, even if it potentially, you know, uh, doesn't generate any revenue, you need to reward that and then integrate it into performance reviews. Your performance reviews, yes, should be on what do your numbers look like, but also how are you living out our company's best core values? And then finally, leadership modeling, consistent decision making, right? Nobody wants to work for a manager who is inconsistent, who makes decisions haphazardly, right? Every choice a decision manager makes, every choice they make should reflect the organizational goals, right? With Enron, they had a set of goals, they had a set of core values, but the managers who were responsible, particularly in finance and accounting, did not did not reflect those goals. And then transparent communication. Be open to what's happening, right? Secretive corporate discussions do not go well for employees, right? It creates a lack of trust. So corporate transparent communication is essential. Essential. Um, Here's a chart basically that demonstrates what employee uh, engagement, core value engagement looks like in comparison to low alignment. So high alignment organizations, low alignment organizations. Employee engagement is much higher when you have a high alignment organization. Retention rate is higher when you have a high alignment organization. Customer satisfaction is higher. The innovation index is higher, which measures how much creativity is happening, items that are created within an organization, ideas that are created in an organization. Innovation index is through the roof when you have a high alignment organization as opposed to a low alignment organization, right? Organizations that align with with goals, values, credible values and goals, beat beat the competition if that competition is focused on low alignment and doesn't practice their core values and ethics. Finally, your challenge, right? Uh, as you prepare to go out there as leaders, as you prepare to go out there potentially as HR leaders, you got to assess the current state of the organization, right? Do an audit of the core values and the people. Are they living them out? Are your employees living out the core values? If not, develop an implementation plan, right? Choose one of Chester's 5 steps. We're going to do this. Take it small, do it a little at a time, chunk it, right? So maybe it's just going to be we want to make sure that we have weekly training, or maybe ideally, we start with hiring. We start with hiring the right people who are aligned with our core values. And then we want to lead by example. Model the values alignment you want to see throughout the organization. Leaders need to lead. And the best way to do that is to demonstrate for your staff what the core values look like when they're lived out. Okay. So that's chapter 3. Make sure you read it. There's a lot more good stuff in there. These are just kind of the highlights. Again, as always, have a great week and let me know if you have any questions.